Hey guys, HTV here. Now, Pokemon is a big franchise. I mean, they've nearly made over 1,000 Pokemon after the release of Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I'm sure they're gonna hit that number in the future with later generations that they will release. With something this big though, some Pokemon would have been made but didn't actually make the cut, so that they were designed and everything but got rejected at the last minute because for, well, a couple of reasons. It could have been just a better Pokemon could have made the fit, or it just didn't really fit in with the storyline or the region or something like that. There are loads of reasons to why a Pokemon would have been rejected. But with that being said though, today's video goes over a few Pokemon that were rejected and never actually released in the main Pokemon games. If you know of any other Pokemon that were rejected and never released that weren't mentioned in this video, then please leave them in the comment section below after watching the video. I'd love to see if I've missed a couple, or if you know of a secret one that's, deep inside the internet that not many people know of. I'd just love to see all the ones that you guys have come across too. So yeah, be sure to leave them in the comment section below after watching the video. With all of that being said though, let's get into the video, and I really hope that you enjoy. Okay, so the first Pokemon is called Boohi, and there's not much about this Pokemon. It's the only thing that we do know is that its Pokedex number was 124, which is the same as Jinx's, and it has the same index number as Caterpie, and it also kind of resembles a cat. All of the Pokemon on this list are mainly from Pokemon Red and Blue and Green, or Pokemon Gold and Silver. Just simply because that's when Pokemon were released, and they would have had loads of ideas, and they probably could have, decided between what they wanted to put into the games and what they didn't want to. So there probably are a lot more rejected Pokemon that we haven't even seen on the internet or anything like that have just been stashed away in Nintendo somewhere. That may make their appearance someday, we don't know. But like I said, these are all just going over at Red and Blue, so there are just a couple of designs and stuff that we have found. But yeah, so that is Boohi. Not much to say about it, just that we only have really the number and stuff. Next is Papio, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and nothing is really known about this Pokemon either, although its number is 211, which is the same as Quillfish's, and it just doesn't really look like anything. It just looks like a kind of a bad kid's drawing, really. Doesn't really look like it'd be able to do anything. I don't know what typing it would be, nothing really about it. It's just kind of like, it just looks like a kid's alien drawing, maybe. I don't really know. Doesn't look like something that would make the main game. But yeah, so kind of happy that they scrapped that one. Okay, so the next rejected Pokemon is an oviparous creature, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Not much is known about this Pokemon either. It does look like it is hatching from an egg, and in the artwork featuring early versions of Red and Rhydon inside a cave, so maybe something to do with Rhydon or something like that. And it did make its debut in Capsule Monsters, which is when the early design of Rhydon was released as well, so it could be something to do with Rhydon, but like I said, we don't know. It just could be maybe a pre-evolution hatching from the egg. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, this Pokemon doesn't really have a name either. It's just an oviparous creature, which may have some sort of links to Rhydon. The next two Pokemon are called Godzilliante, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and Gorillamo. They're hard to pronounce, these names. Not much is known about Godzilliante. It's shown to be breathing as fire. As its name does apply, it could have been based on Godzilla, so like a big dinosaur, fire-breathing monster. And then the next one is Gorillamo. Not much is known about this one either. It kind of looks like Donkey Kong from Nintendo, but that's really all it has. In later generations, we do have Pokemon based off of monkeys, such as Slacking and Slackoff, and Pokemon like that. So that might have been where this Pokemon the ideas of those Pokemon came from. But I don't know, like I said, not much known about this one. The next one is called Dragon 4. This creature's number is 174, which is the same as Igglybuff's, and it knows a move called Fire Breath that requires 70 TP. It has short arms, a long tail, 2 horns on the back of its head, and draconic wings. So it does have quite a lot of resemblance to Charizard. So maybe it could have been a really early design of Charizard, or some Pokemon like Charizard. Just some like early Dragon Pokemon. Could have been Dragonite, something like that. Just something, an early design of a Dragon-like Pokemon. Maybe even Aerodactyl if you wanted to go that far. But this Pokemon does look a lot more like Charizard and Dragonite, so I'd probably say that. But as you can see, literally it's just a small fire-type Pokemon, because obviously it does learn Fire Breath, so that's obviously going to be a fire-type Pokemon. Yeah, that's just basically based off a dragon. The next Pokemon is called Cabin, or Cabin, I don't really know how you pronounce that. Not much known about this one. It is kind of based on Snorlax, just because its name Cabin is similar to Cabigon, which is Snorlax's Japanese name. And it also has, the similar sleepy eyes, and, it's like big and round and just like sits down. It does look just like a massive balloon with eyes drawn on, which could have been like an early design for Snorlax, I don't know. But that is another Pokemon that was rejected, and for good reason. Okay, so the next Pokemon is called Kurusu, who made its debut in the Pokemon Gold and Silver games, or the alpha versions anyway, because obviously they made the full games. But these Pokemon coming up kind of got more of a design and, you know, with color and everything than the Pokemon we've already seen, because the Pokemon that we've already seen in the video so far kind of just like poorly drawn designs on paper, just like really early stages of the designs. These Pokemon coming up made it a little bit further, but were again just rejected and scrapped from the actual games for, you know, could have been for a number of reasons. But yeah, the first one is called Kurusu, and it is in the playable alpha demo of Gold and Silver. Its national Pokedex number was 212, and it knew the moves Growl, Water Gun, and Tackle. Despite its Pokedex numbering, it was the Water type starter in the said demo, which could have been. I love the design of this Pokemon. I think it could have been like, it could have had a lot of potential. It looks kind of like a small seal kind of thing. You know, maybe it could have inspired Spheel's design, or maybe something similar to the actual seal Pokemon, you know, that evolves into Dugong. Either way, I think this could have like maybe evolved into. It kind of looks like an early design of a dragon in some way, just because of like the horns in its head, and it's got the flippers. So maybe it looks like a kind of plesiosaur, something like that. Maybe something to do with like Lapras or something like that. But I do really like the design of this Pokemon. I'm kind of upset that it didn't make the cut, but you know, Totodile still did a pretty good job, you know, capturing everybody's hearts. Okay, so the next Pokemon is Hanoguma, and like Kurusu, its name and image are the only things known about it. And while it's not confirmed, it does look like a fire type to me anyway. Maybe the fire type starter Pokemon would make sense. Plus, it gets the moves Ember, Scratch, and Leer. It kind of looks like a fire type Pikachu in a way. I do like how the black ends of its body parts, such as its ears and its arms and legs, they kind of just resemble like burnt fire. I would really love a Pokemon similar to this to make an appearance in a later Pokemon game, but obviously it didn't make the cut in the Pokemon Gold and Silver Alpha demo. But again, I love the design of it, and I think it looks really cool, and it could have a lot of potential in the future. Now, this next Pokemon doesn't actually have a name, but it got quite far in the design process. The design looks pretty well established, and so it probably did get rejected at the last minute for Gold and Silver. It does look exactly like Hitmontop, which could be said as to why it got scrapped. Maybe they thought of Hitmontop at the end, because it does obviously have huge similarities to Hitmontop. It has multiple feet around its midsection, and although this creature does have its point located on its bottom, whereas Hitmontop has it on its head, where it obviously spins, so it could obviously have been redesigned as Hitmontop. It does have obviously a huge resemblance to Clefairy as well, so maybe it could have been something to do with the Clefairy evolution line, maybe a different evolution of a Clefairy instead of Clefable that was introduced in Pokemon Gold and Silver. We'll never know. I'm just saying it does look a lot like Clefairy as well. So I'm glad they went with Hitmontop, but another evolution for Clefairy could have always been welcome to me. But obviously we did get Clefairy anyway, so maybe that's why they scrapped it. Maybe they invented a baby Pokemon instead, and then just gave this evolution to Tyrogue. You never know. But like I said, this evolution got really far, and so pretty surprising that it did get scrapped. The next Pokemon is an unnamed turtle. This was also in the Pokemon Gold and Silver beta. Looks hella lot like Tirtouga, so I'm guessing they kind of just redesigned this Pokemon later on and just threw it in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. But yeah, this design obviously came really far as well, just like the Pokemon before it. Surprised it didn't get a name as well as the last Pokemon we shown. I'm surprised they didn't get names, because they got like this whole design, but no name. Surely the name would have been one of the first things to think about. But so yeah, not much said about this turtle either. So it's just literally a huge resemblance to Tirtouga. So it probably was just scrapped for Gold and Silver and then used again for Diamond and Pearl. But that is all the designs that I've come across for Pokemon that were rejected and never actually released. There are a couple more, but they just didn't literally have anything about them design-wise or anything like that, so there wasn't really much point including them in the video. Like, I think there was a version of Mareep that didn't really have any artwork or a name or anything like that, so I didn't really feel like there was point of it including in the video. I thought only things that actually had somewhat of a design or something small backstory would be worth putting in the video. But yeah, so that is all of them though that I've come across. But with that wraps up this video. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it. If you did enjoy the video though, please leave a like, I'd really appreciate it. Like I said at the start of the video, I would also love to hear your guys' opinions too on this subject, so be sure to leave them in the comment section below. I do have a couple top 5s and other Pokemon theories coming onto your screen in a second, so be sure to give them a watch if you have the time, and also subscribe if you like my content. That is everything from me though, so thanks for watching guys, have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video.